page 144. I told you there are a few ideas here. So it says again, pick it up on three lines from the top on 144. Vayachalom v'nei sulam mutzav artza v'rosha magia shemaima. There's a ladder on the ground, and its head is reaching in the heavens. V'nei malache Elokim yordim olim v'yordim bo. So the next idea here is the ladder represents it's some sort of prophetic vision of the giving of the Torah at Har Sinai, where the Sulam Mutzavartza V'Rosha Magia Shemaima is somehow represents the mountain. V'nei Malach Elokim Olim V'Yordim Bo. And the Malachim represent Moshe and Aaron. But there's another idea that that also represents the altar in the Beis Hamikdash. So now that's as far as the prophetic visions. I don't remember how each one fits all the words, but there is a lesson for us over here, which is number one, Sulam Mutzav Artza means that we're doing things down here. V'Rosha Magia Shemaima means that we're having an effect up there. It means every time you do a mitzvah, you create a positive malach. People translate a malach as an angel. You know, it's whatever you're picturing an angel to be, it isn't. Yeah, we think of angels, little guys fluttering around in white. The angels they talk about over here, each one was 2,000 parsos wide. The ones going up and down, and that wasn't what we were picturing. And so you got four angels, two going up, two going down. Each is 2,000 parsos wide, 2,000 miles wide, let's say. So those are big angels, and so we don't have an idea what angels look like. We know there's something that they're described in the Nach as having wings. Some of them are fiery, but whatever you're picturing from Hollywood's idea, because they're Jewish writers, editors, owners, and producers, it's not. But one of the ideas is that what we're doing down here has an effect up there. And people have trouble relating to that. How could what I do down here is like Averas also? And ultimately, when a person is judged on the day of judgment, when his neshama goes up, so those angels that he created are the ones that are going to be the defenders and the prosecutors. Those are the results of our mitzvahs and our Averas. And we have trouble, but in NASA, imagine the guys in NASA down, he's playing with a keyboard, and all of a sudden some astronaut has just been shot out of the International Space Station because this guy hit an eject button or something down here, or something went awry up there because this guy was playing with the keyboard down here, and you think, well, how could you possibly have an effect there? We know that it works. We know that it happens. That's only in the physical realm. We know that the spiritual is more potent than the physical. So the Sulam Mutzav Artza means it's a reminder to us that what we're doing down here and the effects that we see, we can't be limited by that. We have to realize, we have to realize that we're playing for bigger consequences than what we see down here. That's number two. Number three, number four, I don't remember what number on. By the way, if anybody sees this on Torah anytime, I'm going to be away from the 5th of December till the 15th. If anybody in the room sees this also, by the way. I'm going to be away from the 50th until the 15th, so I'll be back on Monday for Parshas Vayeitzei. So I'm going to miss next week, which is Parshas Vayishlach. This week we're going to finish Vayeitzei, then I'm going to miss all next week. And then I'll miss Sunday on Parshas Vayeitzei, but then I'll be back on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
Are we still going to have shiurim about the Parsha?
Yeah. There will be somebody will be here.
Where are you going, Rabbi?
Yeah.
Where am I going? I'm going to England. I'm going to various places in England. Yeah.
Gullus.
Yeah. Gullus? Yeah. I guess.
You need a TA?
I got news for you. We're in Gullus now. We're still in Gullus. Israel can't stretch a muscle here without the United States approving it. That's Gullus. Yeah, we're still in Gullus. There's still maybe. There's still what do you call it? We're still under the control of the Goyim, and we're still need defense, and we need a lot of mercy from heaven because we are very much in Golus here and all over the world. So they founded the state of Israel, which was supposed to solve all the anti-Semitism in the world, all the problems. There's probably more anti-Semitism now than there's been since World War II. And they just had a bus full of Jewish children in England. Yeah, my wife was just really thrilled to see this. The bus full of Jewish children in England was just attacked by 2 buses were attacked by a bunch of teenage thugs who got on the buses, little 12, 10, 11, 12-year-old kids, and they got on the bus and started throwing rocks at them. So what do you call it? So it's all over in Israel. It's all over the world. We need Hashem's mercy. Don't ever think, we're in Israel, and because you could eat falafel, the ultimate redemption has arrived. Because we're here. We're not. We're very far away from it. Okay. Somebody Jewish. Now the what do you call it? The next point here is even more practically applicable to us, which is the Sulov Mutzav Artza, means that when we are in the process of spiritual growth, we could get very, very inspired. Hopefully we're inspired, and we could get very, very create goals for ourselves, and we have a desire to grow as a Torah Jew, which is admirable, but we have to keep our feet firmly planted on the ground. And when you're relating to those who are even other frum Jews, don't go all powdery. Just be a real person. Just be who you are. Don't try to be something that you're not. Just be who you are. I'm talking to me. We have to be who we are. We're normal people. We just happen to have a slightly different focus in life. And it's certainly true when you're dealing with secular Jews. If your mother says to you, or if anyone says to you, so what do you do? Right? People meet in a social setting. People say, first thing you go to say, hi, what's your name? What do you do? The standard answer is, I'm a dentist, I'm a truck driver, I'm an astronaut, whatever your occupation is. Sometimes I've seen people who have embarked on spiritual growth. What do you do? I try to serve Hashem with my heart and my soul. Don't do that. That is socially, it is rude. It is impolite. And if I catch you, right, then I will myself apply physical therapy. That is not the way we talk. We are normal people. What do you do? Right now I'm in Yeshiva. What are your plans? My plans are to stay in Yeshiva for, dozens and dozens of years and eventually become a professional stone thrower. No. I plan on working for Beis Din. I plan on working for the High Court and being the executioner. No. Our job is, this is what I'm doing. These are my plans. I don't know. Just be normal. Just be normal the way you are. I had a guy here once who was a very normal guy, and he had 3 older brothers. One of them was intermarried. He told every time he went home, he felt that it was a lynch. They would take him out to a restaurant, and the 3 brothers would just gang up on him, not physically. They're just gang up on him, criticizing his lifestyle. And so he was the youngest brother. And eventually he said to them, listen, if every time I come home, there's just going to be unpleasantness and arguing, and you're going to criticize me, say, you know what? I'm just going to stop. I'm just going to stop coming home. I'm not going to change. You're not going to change. So why do we have to do this? In other words, so the question is, so what are we supposed to talk about? I don't know. Did you ever talk about religion before with your brothers? You didn't. All you talked about was sports, beer, and other inappropriate subjects. That's what you spoke about before. So speak about that now, except leave out the inappropriate subjects. That's all. Speak about whatever you spoke about in the past. How much religion did you ever discuss? Honestly, I had 2 guys once came into the yeshiva. 2 guys years ago. 2 guys came in. I sat them down in a room, completely secular, and I started schmoozing with the guys. At a certain point, I said, so do you guys believe in God? So one of them goes, no. The other one goes, I sure do, Tom. So one thing became very clear to me, that the 2 of them had never discussed the subject before, because that's something pretty fundamental, that if you have discussed a religion, you would probably know whether or not you believe in God or not. So not everything has to be that when you're with your friends, family, people you associate with the past. Not every hi, Asher Yatzar. You don't have to speak Aramaic. Just be a normal person. Just be a normal person. Keep your feet firmly planted on the ground, and that applies in our own personal growth to keep track of what level am I really on. Am I really on the level where before I eat I'm Lichvod Shabbos Kodesh? Really? Really? You mean your third piece of lemon meringue pie too is also the third Kodesh? Or just the first two? Right? You elevated the souls of all those potatoes in the chont, or only some of them? Really, do me a favor. They had one of the Hasidic leader from the Hasidic Chidush Arim, I think it was. He was one sitting at the table. The grandson was sitting at the table. He said, "L'chvod Shabbos Kodesh," and his grandfather said, "You don't have to announce it. It's enough to think it," which I love. I love that story. Okay, why are you announcing it? Well, how else is everybody going to know how holy I am? You know, if I'm thinking it, nobody knows how holy I am. Say, just say, if you say it once at a Shabbos meal, sit down at the Shabbos meal, when they bring out the first course, whatever it is, a piece of salmon, say to yourself quietly, Chod Shabbos Kodesh, eat it, and don't say it again. Then take no prisoners, or whatever your minhag is at the table. But don't just keep our feet firmly planted on the ground. There's no reason people should have a perception of Bali Tshuvas as being unbalanced, unstable, socially crippled, or anything else. We should be coming across as very pleasant people. We should be coming across as people that they would like to be people like us. That we've spoken about. Okay. Now, good, I got that off my chest. Back at the first pasuk, something I skipped yesterday. They're very important. I want to go into this a little bit. It says, "Vayeitzei Yaakov Beersheva vayelech Harana." Yaakov left Beersheva and he went to Haran. The Medrash on this pasuk says there are some people who their shidduch, their soulmate, people call it the soulmate. Yeah, that's always in the dating process. Their soulmate is brought to them. Who do we find that? Who did that happen to? Whose soulmate was brought to them? Which man had a soulmate? Yitzchak. Yeah, that's convenient. You know, it's almost like Amazon. You know, you just order a soulmate. And Eliezer goes and he brings you back one, you know, Amazon Prime, you know, and there you go. And then Rivka comes to him. Some people have to go finding their soulmate, which is Yaakov Avinu, Vayeitzei Yaakov mi Beersheva. So the Medrash says, quotes the pasuk, Hashem Moshi v'chidim beisa. Hashem puts two individuals into a home. We spoke about this last week or 2 weeks ago, that the idea of HaKadosh Baruch Hu is manipulating circumstances so that you could have somebody from Australia and a guy from Australia, a girl from Kansas City, and somehow they meet in Yerushalayim and they get married. That HaKadosh Baruch Hu brings them from the ends of the earth. HaKadosh brings them from the ends of the earth to get married in Eretz Yisrael. So the Medrash says that Hashem puts two individuals into a home together. And if you look at, when you look at Shidduchim, how Shidduchim happen and how people meet each other, and there's always a twist and a turn and a story behind it. So there's an interesting medrash. I want to tell you two midrashim. One medrash is a Roman noblewoman, and I want you to stay with this because it's a little deeper than what it sounds. Excuse me 1 second. The Medrash says there was a Roman noblewoman who came to Rabbi Yossi ben Chalafta. Rabbi Yossi ben Chalafta is a Tana, one of the greatest of the Tanoim. And this Roman noblewoman said to Rabbi Yossi ben Chalafta, listen, your God created the world in 6 days. What's he been doing since then? Rabbi Yossi ben Chalafta said he's been pairing people up. He's been matching people up. Bas Ploni Leploni, the daughter of so-and-so will marry so-and-so. She said to him, that's not so hard. I could do that too. She called in 1,000 of her servants, 1,000 of her maidservants, said, you're going to marry her, you marry her, you marry her, you marry him. And she sent them home. The next day, they came back. Their skulls were cracked and their legs were broken and fractured. He said, I can't stand her. She said, I can't stand him. The only question I have on the Medrash is the Medrash uses a masculine terminology. The wounded and injured seem to be the men, which I'm not sure why that is. But bunch of wimps. But at the end of the day, so they all came back. They couldn't stand each other. By the way, the Moonies did this back, I'm guessing, about 20 years ago. The Moonies, Reverend Sung Young Moon, or whatever his name was, he took 5,000 of his followers, and he made a mass wedding where each one, he paired them off. He made instant shidduchim and he paired them off. We don't know the results. But here, The Medrash says that's what she said I could do. Then when that happened, when they came back, she said, I see it's not as easy to do as I thought. Okay, that's what the Medrash says. Now, if you stop and think about this, what kind of silly discussion was that? What kind of silly discussion was that? What's your God been doing since he created the world? Well, he golfs on Wednesdays, and when he's really looking for excitement, there's a tsunami if he's really bored. What do you mean, what's he been doing since then? And that's her question. It's almost like an immature question. It's like my son and daughter arguing. My son and daughter once said, my son was 14 and a half, my daughter was 13. They had the great philosophical argument of, is it better to be a boy or a girl? Guess which side my son took and guess which side my daughter took. Yeah, they're a great philosophical argument. Okay, so what kind of question? You're talking about a Roman noblewoman over here asking, she's an adult. What kind of question? What's going on? And Rabbi Yossi ben Chalafta, who's a Tana, why are you even talking to her about it? Why are you even biting into it? What's the answer? The answer is that they weren't discussing shidduchim per se. They were going into a philosophical debate of what is God's role in the running of the world. That means there's no one in history who has not believed in a creator. Even those who deny a creator believe in a creator because, what's the expression? There are no atheists in a foxhole. And not only that, everybody who plays Monopoly obviously believes in a higher force, because right when you need, you can't get a 7 now or you're out. Your 7 is a hotel. You need a 6 or an 8 at least to survive. And what do you do before you roll the dice? Come on. I got one question. Who are you talking to? If you're talking to the dice, then you've got much bigger problems than landing on a hotel. That means that even when you're playing Monopoly, you're looking for that spin, you're calling out, okay, there are more important things in life than Monopoly, maybe. But you're calling out because it's instinctive for a human being to call for help when they're in trouble. So if a guy's an atheist in the foxhole, all of a sudden he's all of a sudden promising the Lord everything. Suddenly he's not an atheist anymore. That people have no problem with. Even Paro acknowledged the fact that there's a creator. Where do we part company? We part company with does a creator have any involvement in the world once it's been created? And the agenda of those who deny it, I have no problem. There's a God created the world. I have no problem with that. But if you tell me that he's involved in the world and he cares what's happening down here, then I got to put on tefillin. That I care about. If he's involved, then I can't eat pork. That I care about. And therefore, the agenda of those who deny it is because they don't want to have the restrictions and the obligations that come with knowing, with there being a creator. That was what was underlying the argument. So she was saying to him, what's your God been doing? Does your God have any involvement in the world? He created the world in 6 days. What's he been doing since then? Meaning, I don't believe he has any involvement. What area of life did he choose to prove it from? Specifically matchmaking. Because even a Roman noblewoman could appreciate the fact that when it comes to matchmaking, it's obviously something that's taking place. There's something that's happening that's beyond human control. Because I'll give you guys an exercise. Ask any of the Rebbeim here in the Yeshiva how they met their wives. Ask anybody from how their shidduch happened. I can guarantee you that most of the time you're going to hear that it was a strange story. Yeah, I was on the highway fixing somebody's flat tire, and somebody drove by, and he noticed me, and he just had his daughter has a friend who's looking for a guy who's good with tires. That's it. That's how we met. There's always going to be a twist.
How'd you meet your wife?
How did I meet my wife? How did I meet my wife? I was on the way. That's a good question. Well, I think it's a good question. I was on my way to make a phone call. I was in the yeshiva, and I had been dating for a while, and I was on my way. I'd been in the yeshiva for a while. I was on my way to call my mother, and it was the morning. I was going to call my mother to find out if I should come back to Chicago to start to maybe there's something happening in Chicago. Just then, my Gemara teacher came in, and he said to me, "My wife wants to speak to you." His wife happens to be a teacher in the girls' school where my wife was studying, and I went to speak to his wife, and then she said she thinks she's got something, that's how it happened, and it was interesting because I was just on my way. To this day, I've wondered what would have happened if I would have made that phone call. But okay, don't tell my wife I said so. But at the end of the day, there's always a twist and a turn. That's the involvement of God in the world, number one. Now, there's another medrash. I'll say this one. This is a doozer. There's a medrash that says and that's what he was doing to the Roman noblewoman. He was showing her, you see that in Shidduchim, which is something you could appreciate, God's involved in the world. So if that's the case, when a guy's looking for a job, a guy's unemployed for 3 weeks, he's looking for a job, he's an accountant. And also he goes to the mikveh and he overhears a conversation in the mikveh that some guy says, listen, in my accounting firm, somebody just left. I need a guy he's in the water yelling, yo, I'm good. I'll put on my clothes. Really, I will, but I'm good. Yeah. So it happens. It always comes out of left field. And I've seen it over and over and over again. Just when you're least expecting it, that's when it comes. Number one. Now there's a medrash that says like this. Shlomo HaMelech, Solomon, King Shlomo HaMelech, he had a beautiful daughter. And he saw astrologically that this beautiful daughter was going to marry a pauper. The terminology is he was poorer than anybody in the Jewish, the poorest guy among the Jewish people, just poor as could be. And Shlomo HaMelech wanted to see how this is going to work out. So he built a tower, and he put the tower out at sea, surrounding it with walls and 70 of his wise men. And he put supplies in with no door, and he put his daughter up in the tower. What's her name? Rapunzel? Yeah. Rapunzel. I don't remember how it was. She throws down her hair or something?
Yeah, very long hair.
A very long hair. And then what happens?
Pulls up from under and saves her.
Climbs up her here.
He climbs up here and he saves her. Okay, that's not how my version of the story went. My version of the story was that he climbs up and he says, hey, you look familiar. And he says, yeah. Did you get a pen? Yeah, I did too. Well, weren't you the feminist leader on campus? And she goes, yeah, and he jumps out the window and commits suicide. That was my version of the story. So okay, whatever. But you see that a lot of these Goyish fairy tales, a lot of them are rooted in Gemara. Sinbad travels the 7 seas. If you learn the Gemara in Baba Basra about Rabbi Bar Barchana, the Gemara in Baba Basra on Daf Sam Ayin Gimel Ayin Dal Hey talks about Rabbi Bar Barchana, and he sees these incredible sea creatures. Where there's a sea creature where it sees birds, massive birds, whales, incredible sea creatures, which are beyond our experience. They're beyond experience. Many commentaries say there's obviously allegory, but I'm convinced that the ideas were taken and they were taken and then used by others for what do you call, for these sort of stories. In any event, he puts her up in the castle, the tower, Shlomo HaMelech, and he wants to see what's going to happen. In the meantime, this young man is walking on the road. He's wearing rags, and he's hungry, and he's tired, and he's cold. And he's walking on the road somewhere, and on the side of the road, he sees an ox's carcass. There's a dead ox. So he opens up the carcass, and he gets in order to warm up. Desperate times call for desperate measures. And he's cold, and he gets into this ox's carcass. In the meantime, there's a huge bird, an eagle or something, that flies by, picks up the ox, flies out to sea, and deposits the ox on the balcony where this young lady is up in the tower. And then the bird eats the meat of the ox. The bird eats the meat, and then the girl wakes up in the morning and there's a bacher on the balcony. I love when that happens. There's a bacher on the balcony. So she takes him in. And she cleans him up, and the two of them, she sees he's a Talmid Chacham, and he's charming, and he's good-looking. He's got all the milas. And finally, she says to him, do you want to get married? He says, yeah, sure. So he pokes himself, he draws blood, and he writes a ksuba in blood. Don't worry, you did the same thing. You used ink, but it's really in blood. So he writes the ksuba in blood, and he calls Hashem and Gavriel and Michael, the angels, to be his witnesses, because you need witnesses on a ksuba. And the two of them get married. And 3 months later, she starts showing. And these 70 wise men who are supposed to be guarding her, they say, if we didn't know better, we think you're pregnant. And she goes, yeah, I am. They go, well, who's the father? Well, wouldn't you like to know? So they contact Shlomo HaMelech and they're trembling because, and so Shlomo HaMelech comes out and then the daughter says, this is your new son-in-law. And he talks to him and he sees that he's good at this, he's wonderful, and they all live happily ever after. Shlomo HaMelech says, you see that when Hashem wants it to happen, it's going to happen. And that's what the Medrash says. Is the story literal? I don't know if the story is literal or not, but the story may very well be to teach us that if it's going to happen, it's going to happen. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to make it spin one way or another. And it's not only in that, it's on everything in the world. It's on everything in the world. Shidduchim is only one aspect of the way HaKadosh Baruch Hu is manipulating and running things in the world. Okay. It's probably like that. Ask anybody how they got their job. Ask anybody how they got it. Forget Shidduchim. Ask anybody, how did you get your job? Oh, well, my brother-in-law knew somebody who, they're one of those stories. Very rarely, you apply for the job here and you end up working somewhere else. Or you plan on going to school here and something happened at the last minute, you end up in school over there. It always happens in life. You see the strangest things. The strangest things happen when HaKadosh Baruch Hu gets involved. Okay, let's go on. In Pasuk Yud Gimel. V'hidei Hashem nitzav alav. Hashem bore down on Yaakov Avinu, and Yaakov Avinu is sleeping. Vayomar ani Hashem Elokei Avram Avicha, I'm Hashem, the God of your father Avram Elokei Yitzchak. Ha'aretz asher ata shochev aleha, the land that you're lying on, lecha etenena ulazarecha, the land you're lying on, I'm going to give it to you and your offspring. Now, how much land is Yaakov lying on? Yaakov, when you lie down, you take up, the length of a mattress, and God promises you, I'm going to give this land to your offspring. Well, how are we all going to fit there? And that's not much of a promise. What kind of promise is that? I'll give this land to you understand the problem? You understand the problem? I'll give this land to you. Okay, so the obvious answer is the land. You're lying on the land. You're lying on only a piece of land. It's like I say, I'm in my shoes. You say to somebody, boy, I won't want to be in his shoes. How much of him is in his shoes anyway? Now, most of him is not in his shoes. But there's an explanation. What land are you on right now? You're not on the entire land of Israel. You're only on part of the land of Israel. But take a look at Rashi. So Rashi says it's the left column of Rashi, and it's slightly past the halfway point in Rashi. It's 7 lines from the bottom in Rashi. Shochev aleha. Kipel HaKadosh Baruch Hu kol Eretz Yisrael tachtav. Hashem folded all of Eretz Yisrael underneath him. That means when he said the land you're lying on, he was lying on the entire Eretz Yisrael. Hashem folded the entire land of Israel, compressed it, and put it under Yaakov Avinu. Ramazlo, he was alluding to the fact, Shetei Nochel Ikavesh Levanov, it'll be as easy for his children, his offspring, to conquer, Kedalid Amos, like 4 Amos, Shezem Mekomo Shalada. How much space did Yaakov take up? It took about 6 feet. That's not hard to conquer. He took all of Eretz Yisrael, folded it up, put it under Yaakov Avinu, and told them this is the land your offspring are going to get. That's what Rashi brings down from the Medrash. I'm asking a question. What is the idea of giving the land of Eretz Yisrael to a Yaakov Avinu who's lying on it? What's the Torah getting at over here? What does it mean to give the land of Eretz Yisrael to a Yaakov Avinu who's lying on it? That means that the land of Israel was given to us. Which one? What does Yaakov represent? Avram is Chesed, right? Yitzchak is Torah. There's Torah, Avoda, and Gemilus Chasadim. Avram Avinu is Gemilus Chasadim. Yitzchak is Avoda, the sacrificial service. After all, he's a korban. Yaakov Avinu is what? He's Torah. He was the one who was sitting in the base Medrash for 14 years. The Torah is saying Eretz Yisrael was given to the Jewish people for spiritual pursuits. If we're learning Torah and behaving as Jews should, then we'll have the land of Israel. Then we're underneath. It's ours as long as Yaakov Avinu is on top of it. If we try to behave like the rest of the nations, then Eretz Yisrael is taken away from us. If the Jews don't behave, that's what caused exile twice. If we're behaving properly, then we're going to be granted, Eretz Yisrael. That's the first idea. Now take a look at the next idea. In Pasuk Yud Daled. The V'haya zaracha ka'afar ha'oretz, your offspring will be like the dirt of the earth. Ufaratzta yamav v'kedma v'tzafona v'negda, you'll go out, you'll break out into all directions. V'nivruchu v'chakol mishvachos adam uv'zarech, and all families of the earth will be blessed through you and your offspring. Is it a good thing to be? Is it a good thing to be compared to dirt? The Jewish people are also compared to stars, aren't they? They're compared to the stars. What is the comparison to your offspring will be like the dust of the earth, like the dirt of the earth? The ArtScroll translates dust or dirt. The dust of the earth. I mean, what we call dirt. What's the comparison to dirt?
Everywhere.
Dirt is everywhere. Jews are everywhere. Everywhere you go, there's a Jew. In the world today, everywhere you go, there's a Jew. And that's part of the blessing, by the way. I'll get to you 1 second. Part of the blessing of exile is that we're not all condensed in one place where the enemies could get us. So if they unfortunately through history where Jews in one land have been annihilated, but at least there were Jews in another land to survive. So that's a part of there's a blessing in the curse that will be scattered in exile. But what else? What else is the dirt? Yeah, what do you say, Andrew?
We can, the other people can always walk on us, but we'll always be able to support life.
Very good. In other words, we're going to be trampled. The Medrash says that on the one hand, we may get trampled like the dirt. On the other hand, dirt outlasts everything else. Was that what you say, Shia? The dirt outlasts everything. Everything else disappears. Everything else disappears. Everything goes eventually, but the earth is always there. The earth, see, on the one, in other words, there's a blessing and a curse. Earth could be a good thing. Earth could be, you think of earth, you think of getting trampled on. By the way, in Shemon Esrei, I heard a beautiful explanation. At the end of the Shemon Esrei, when we say Elokai Nitzor, so you notice it says, Elokai Nitzor l'shoni meros asaymi daber, guard my lips, v'lim kalayim, and those who curse me, I should be still, not respond. V'nafshi ke'ofar lakol tiyeh, my soul should be like dirt to everybody. What do you think? What's the plain meaning of that? V'nafshi ke'ofar lakol tiyeh. I mean, you say it every day, gentlemen, right? 3 times a day. What are you thinking when you're saying that? I'm thinking that I'm hungry and I wish davening was over. No, I mean, what are you thinking when you say those words? V'nafshi ke'ofar lakol tiyeh. We already said it twice today because we davened Shemon Esrei twice, and we're going to be saying it again. So what do you think? What's the plain meaning? Let me be brave. What's the plain meaning of v'nafshi ke'ofar lakol tiyeh?
Humility?
Yes, excellent, Yirmi. The plain meaning is that I should be humble like dirt. And that I should, that we're davening to because humility is a difficult trait. But I saw a beautiful explanation once. What we're really saying is, and this goes to what Andrew said earlier, dirt causes other things to grow. We're davening to Hashem that we should be someone who can help others to grow. V'nafshi ke'ofar lakol tiyeh, that we should be able to have an influence on other people, and that we should inspire other people that they should grow as a result of either our behavior, our teaching, whatever we do to other people, that we should help them. So the Torah says over here, number 1, dirt has a drawback because you get trampled on. Dirt has an advantage because the Jewish people will always be around. The ancient Romans, the ancient Greeks, the Babylonians, the Egyptians, they're gone. The Palestinians soon. There are no Palestinians. They're Palestinians. Even in the, one of the Americans said, let's say the whole thing's a fallacy, but let's not get into that. The Greeks, the Romans, all those, they're all gone. And the Jews have outlasted them. You know that famous thing from Mark Twain. The Jews have outlasted them. Here we are. We're still here after all the attempts. We're still here. So that's the blessing of the earth. But there's one other key to earth. When is earth dirt? When it becomes useful? If you want to build something with dirt, what do you have to do?
You have to work it.
What's that?
You have to work it.
You have to work it. How do you work it? What's the first ingredient you use for dirt? What's that? Water. What's water? Water is Torah. Ein mayim ella Torah. Water represents Torah because Torah is the basic nutrient of Jewish life. When you mix the dirt, the Jewish people, with Torah, then we're productive. But it's got to be Torah. Always, gentlemen, it always comes back to Torah. It always comes back to Torah. Torah is it. And you have to have the waters of Torah with it. Food, you could go without food for a while. You could go without food. I remember the Irish hunger strikers in Northern Ireland when they were striking in England against Margaret Thatcher's policies. They had those guys who were, and Margaret Thatcher was called the Iron Lady. She said, "Let them die, let them kill themselves," and they did. And one of them made by me when it was happening, I was very young. By me, it was always statistics. I was into sports. So one of them set the record. He went 66 days. Bobby Sands went 66 days. Then his record got broken and went to 73. Him and,
Without eating?
yeah. Eventually they starved the whole day without eating. They were just they're on a hunger strike. They're on a hunger strike. They drank. You drank because you can't go more than 3 days without water. But eating, you can go for a long time. You go for a long time. Torah is water because water is the basic substance of life. Water is the basic substance of life. I once read about a woman in England. I'm just telling you what the article said. You can't ask me kashas. And it's not a Tosfos. I'm just telling you what the article said. Where are you? Yeah, Yehuda, you hear this? This is a true story. True story. It's true that I read it. There was a woman in England. I'll give you an introduction first. I myself was going through a period of allergies. I told you I started getting allergies. I didn't know what it was coming from. It was in 2007 when the White Sox were in the World Series. So I had a lot of aggravation and stress. And the doctor, when he couldn't find a source, he said it's stress. And my mother said to me, "What are you stressed about?" And I said, "I think it's the White Sox." She said, No, you're past that already. I said, "No, I'm not." So this year we evened it out because the Sox set a record for the most losses in a season. So soon we'll be making a Kiddush in Shul. But what do you call it? They were in the World Series and I was stressed. There were other things like not having enough money, but that was mostly the White Sox. And so I was getting these allergies. So I asked my doctor once, who was a good friend of mine, and I was driving him nuts. And one time I said to him, "What happens if somebody becomes allergic to water?" So he rolled his eyes. He goes, "They're in trouble, okay?" A couple of years later, I read about a woman in England who gave birth. Her body went haywire. She developed an allergy to water. And it's like one of 11 cases in medical history. And then they describe what she's going through. She can't shower. She can't drink water. She can't do it. She can't even touch her baby because the baby's moist. She can't get any moisture. Once a week, she could take a shower. She could just kind of brush herself off with water. And then the obvious question is, so what did she drink? Don't ask me any kashas. I'm just telling you what the article said. The only liquid she could drink is Diet RC, which obviously means that Diet RC has no water in it. It's just purely freshly squeezed chemical juice, right? There's no water content whatsoever. I don't know why. That's what the article says. She can only drink Diet RC. So this woman then was quoted as saying, my life is not a life. And that's how we feel about Torah. If you're without Torah, it's not a life. And that Torah is water. And that's why they're compared to the dirt. Now, watch this. This is very amusing. Take a look at Pasuk Tes Zayin. Vayikatz Yaakov Mishnaso. Yaakov wakes up. And the word Vayikatz, in Hebrew, a sting. When a bee stings you, it's called oketz, to sting. Sometimes people wake up. It says Vayashkem Avraham Baboker. Avram woke up in the morning. What's the difference? It says later on when Paro has his dream, Vayikatz Paro Bisheno. What's the difference between Vayashkem and Vayikatz?
Like a jump.
You jump. Did you ever have a dream and you jump up when you have a dream? That's Vayikatz. What's Vayashkem? Vayashkem is kind of get up, like a snake. You kind of slowly. It's called Vayashkem because the word Vayashkem is from the word Shchem. Shchem is a shoulder. The first part of your body that comes off of a bed beside your head. Sometimes people just leave their head in the bed, but the first part that comes off the bed is the shoulder, right? Your shoulder, you lift your shoulder off unless you're the type of guy who just rolls out of bed onto the floor. But most people in the Western world, you sit up in bed, you take your shoulder off, that's Vayashkem. Vayikatz means you jumped up. Like Yaakov's having a dream, whoa! Like Paro had his dream, whoa! Vayikatz, you got stung by the dream. That's why the difference between Vayikatz and Vayashkem. By the way, do you know you don't jump out of bed in the morning? I know you don't jump out of bed. I didn't mean that. You don't jump out of bed in the morning. You never just kind of wake up and jump. It's not healthy. And it says that you're supposed to wait, medically they have found you're supposed to wait 12 seconds. And what's remarkable is, Modeh Ani takes 12 words. Modeh Ani lefanecha melech chai v'kayam, shechazarta bi nishmasi v'chemla rabba emunasecha. So interesting coincidence, isn't it? Very interesting coincidence. So another Torah coincidence. So medically, they found you don't jump out of bed. Yaakov vayikatz Yaakov mishnaso, vayomer achein yesh Hashem b'makom hazeh. Hashem is in this place. V'anochi lo yadati. I didn't know the divine presence is there. Going to sleep where there's a divine presence. It's like walking into a shul in the dark. Let's say it's dark in the shul, and you lie down. You go to, or you walk into a room. You don't even know what the room is. And you just lie down and go to sleep, and it turns out you wake up, you're in the Aron Kodesh. And you found a nice ledge, and you're in the Aron. Whoa, I would never have slept here had I known that this is where they keep the Sefer Torah, this is the Aron Kodesh. What am I doing over here? I had a guy here once who told me he was I think he was in the backwoods of West Virginia. And he was hiking by himself. And it was late, it was getting dark. And he decided to lie down and go to sleep for the night. So he's trying to find a soft spot on the ground. He had a sleeping bag. So he puts his sleeping bag down, and he found like a little ridge. So he gets into this ridge, and he's a fairly comfortable ridge, and he goes to sleep. He wakes up in the morning, and he sees that he's got some cobwebs on him. And he gets up, and he looks behind him. There was a cross right behind where he was sleeping. He had slept in a grave. I like that. Talk about vayikatz, Talk about jumping up. He slept in a grave. So Yaakov Avinu says, I slept here and I didn't know. Now watch this. The Medrash says, vayikatz Yaakov mishenoso. He woke up from his sleep. Top line. The word mishenoso could always be read as what? If we take away the vowelization, mishnaso.
From a year?
Like
a year? Shana?
That could be. Some people say, I guess some people could sleep from a year. But the Medrash says, mishnaso, from his Mishnah. The word Mishnah means to recite or to study. Yaakov woke up from his studying. What does that mean? He was sleeping. What does it mean he was studying? How was he studying? He was sleeping. What's that? He fell asleep while he was studying. So the Rambam writes in Shmona Prakim, if a person, let's say a person is studying Torah, and you go to sleep at night because your head is heavy, you're tired, and you're going to sleep in order to have a fresh head the next morning so you can study Torah some more. If that's your purpose in sleeping, I'd like to study more. I can't. I'm just exhausted. And you go to sleep, those hours of sleeping are credited as if you're studying Torah. And that's also, by the way, even if you're not learning Torah, even if you're just a person who is serving HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you go to sleep at night. One thought before you go to sleep, and this also you don't have to announce to anybody else, just think to yourself, I'm going to sleep now so that tomorrow I could daven better, I could be good to people better, I could study Torah better. Then your sleep turns into a form of serving God. It's not our fault that we have to sleep. But if a person looks at sleep as, boy, all day long I've been waiting for this moment. This is the moment I live for, so I could go to sleep. So that changes the approach to sleep. Sleep is not an activity that needs practice. Right? We're good at it naturally. And so a person, if you're sleeping, what you're at. So Yaakov went to sleep because he would rather continue learning. So he woke up from his learning because the sleep for Yaakov Avinu was considered as if his learning is continued. Number one. Number two, there's a source that says tzaddikim. Tzaddikim, while they're sleeping, their neshama goes up and it enters into the Yeshiva Shalmala. There's a yeshiva up there where they're learning Torah. And the tzaddikim, while they're sleeping, because they're totally devoted to Torah down here, while they're sleeping, the neshama goes up and it goes to yeshiva up there. They have a yeshiva up there and they're studying Torah over there. Reb Chaim Kanievsky Zatzal, this is documented. There were two stories about Reb Chaim Kanievsky. One time, he made a l'chaim. They said he wants to do some wine, he wants to make a l'chaim. Somebody said, why? He said, because he dreamt the entire Masechta Brachas that night in his sleep. Then, there was another time when he made a l'chaim because he had dreamt the entire Baba Basra. Now, Baba Basra was 176, so his grandson said to him, I mean, all of Baba Basra in one night? He said, no, it took me 3 nights. So he went to sleep, okay, I'm going to sleep, I'm going to dream the first third of Baba Basra. Wakes up the next night, the second. Okay, so we're talking about concepts beyond our comprehension. I don't know. Maybe you guys are dreaming Baba Basra. It's not quite what I haven't yet to dream Baba Basra. I've yet, I'd like to learn Baba Basra when I'm awake before I give a dream it. But Reb Chaim Kanievsky, it's documented that at night he was dreaming Torah. That's all he had in his head during the day. That's all he had in his head. So, but the sources, the Medrash says, tzaddikim, they actually go up while their neshama goes up while they're sleeping, and their neshama's in yeshiva. How do you like that? We do the opposite. We go to yeshiva and fall asleep. Right? While they're sleeping, they go to yeshiva. So we just need a little reversal over here. That's all. Okay, so again, if anybody's watching this, if anybody sees this, I'm going to be away from December 5th till December 16th this year. I'll be here this week. Mirz Hashem. I'll be here tomorrow and Thursday. And what's today? Today's Monday? Today's Monday? Oh boy. You're in trouble when it's Monday and it's already been a long week. You're in trouble. Okay, so we'll be, next? Okay.